Hi guys and welcome. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. If you've seen my last butterfly journal flip through, you'll note that I love to have an excessive amount of journaling space in my journals. So whether they're notebooks, journaling cards, little flip outs, etc. So I've just got this bit of paper on here because it's acetate and it's going to shine, so I do apologise for that. But I'm just going to make these cute little window notebooks. We're just about to start a new journal, which is going to be very much the paper doll inspired ones. So we've got half a cover and we've got a piece of acetate underneath that. I've just put something on the back there, which effectively is another little pocket if we want to tuck another paper doll in there. But we're going to make one with you today and I'll give you the measurements. I'll also put them below in the description for you as well. So just start with a bit of cardstock. So this one is a Craft one I've had for a while. I think it was called Pen and Ink collection, and I've used it a lot. I had a big pack all of the same one. So if you've got a piece of cardstock, if you don't, if you've only got plain, then stamp something on the background because it's just about adding a little bit of texture onto that cardstock. Or if you've got a beautiful patterned one, use that one. But we're going to cut it at 4 inches. So it's going to be 4 by 12 inches, the notebook, because we know that a 12 by 12 is 12 inches long there. Just going to cut that little extra strip off that Craft always have on their pieces. Let's cut that a fraction more. And then we're going to fold it in half. So we're effectively going to have a 4 by 6 piece. So that's going to form the cover of our notebook. We then want to cut 2 inches across, which will be halfway, and ½ an inch down. So we can mark that out on a ruler or a pen, or you can eyeball it. So I'm going to eyeball the 2 inches we can measure, and we know where our fold is. So take it, that piece that's going to be across there, we'll simply just cover the stapling of our pages underneath. So you can make it as wide or as thin as you like, but I think ½ an inch, or you can, even if you've got a grid cutting board like this, you can take it across, and I know it's just going to be just under that writing there. So if I take it to about there, and then if I turn it and get that on the line where I've got, just see there where I've gone to. If you can't, if you don't have a cutting board like that, then simply do it by hand. So you're going to end up with like an L shape. You can see that. We're then going to cut a piece of acetate 4 by 6, which is going to be the whole piece. We're going to glue that whole piece on there just to make it easier. So if we go onto our cutting board again, I think that one's not a straight line. Oh, neither of them seem to be a straight line. I'm just going to cut a straight line. I must have used it for another project, and I'll just make sure each end's straight before I go cutting, otherwise you're not going to end up with an exact rectangle. Quite a hot day in Australia today. They are forecasting some cyclones at the end of the week, which is never good news, and some major flooding. So everyone's been preparing for that. But with the heat, it just brings out some unfriendly visitors. I had another brown snake this morning. It's my third one in a couple of months, and it was an eastern brown. And if anybody knows Australia, eastern browns are quite deadly. Well, they are deadly. Nearly everything in Australia bites and is deadly, to be quite honest. But snakes especially. It's one of the most venomous snakes. So I'm just measuring out that 4 by 6. I cut it in a roundabout way. I do apologise for that because I started with a scrap left over from an A4 size. And you may even have a bit that hangs out the bottom. We can simply trim that with scissors. Because I did cut a little bit extra off with that white strip. Okay, and you can actually glue that down. So we just want to glue it to the acetate at this stage. But before I do that, I'm going to quickly just give it a quick ink. Even the underside, because you're going to see that because the acetate is clear. So if you do like to ink your projects, then ink before you glue. So once it's down, it's down. I love the back of this paper as well. And depending on what you like for your projects, I work a lot with 49 and market, as you know, because I really like it's quite thick. So in a lot of my projects, I like the thicker cardstock. But with the Kaiser Craft, it's just a good thickness when you're making things like this, that you don't want to add bulk to your journal. A lot of my notebooks or notepads, I have 4 pages of coffee dyed paper in there. So there's 8 journaling sides all up. And I like the 4 because it doesn't add too much bulk to your journal either, but it gives you a lot of journaling space. So we'll go, let's ink that. So we want to ink along the piece that's going to stick to the top, and then just round the edges on this one. So we can go all of there, and then just you can of course ink the whole lot, but there's no need, and the glue will show through on your acetate. So if you've got a beautiful pattern like that and you want to feature it, then just glue around the outside. And then that's your front cover. Then get a piece of coffee dyed paper. So this is just A4. I'll just put the lid on my glue, or the pin in my glue. I'm using art glitter glue. I like it because it seems to adhere a lot of different mediums. Okay, so an A4 bit of coffee dye paper. So I do my coffee dyeing in the oven. What I do is I just get a big baking dish. I make quite a strong brew of coffee with some hot water, and then I just make it so it's not lukewarm, but just warm. It'll cool down over a period of time. And then I'll put paper in 1 sheet by 1 sheet, so each surface covers, but I may have 20 pieces of paper in there at one time. And when I pull it out, I'll put it in the oven on a baking tray, and then as each top layer dries, I pull it out. So it'll dry each layer. Sometimes if it's half dry, I'll pull it off to the sides. Quite an interesting process, and they don't stick together like I originally thought. I was soaking and dyeing 1 piece of paper at a time, and you can imagine how long that took. So I folded it in half and then just cut across the fold, and then I'm folding it in half again and cutting across the fold. If you don't have a cutting board like this, then just do it with a pair of scissors. Before I staple it together, I'm just going to see if it needs a little bit more trimmed off it. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, because you don't want piece hanging out there, which it actually does. I'm going to just take that edge off. So line up the edge that you're not cutting. Piece that's not quite cut through. I did put a new blade on today before starting, but obviously I didn't press hard enough. And then I'm just going to put 3 staples across the top. You don't have to do that, you could just put 2. I like 3, it evens it out. I'm then going to, I'm not going to push it all the way up, because as you can see, it's a little bit shorter when you fold the A4 together than the 6x6. So I'm just going to tease it down a little bit. And then I'm only going to glue just below the staples there. So I'm going to put glue on both sides, because we want to stick it to the back, and then we want to stick our front cover on there. You don't have to stick the front of it if you don't want to, but every time you open your notebook, you're going to see the staples. This way you're not. So there's a little bit of surplus out the side there, as you can see, just off center. I'm just going to tidy it up with a sharp piece of scissors. All right, so then we want to put something across the top, like a word. You could put flowers, butterflies, whatever you like, numbers. I'm going to, the last one we had a postcard that I'd stamped on some scrap. I cut out fairly close to the borders and then I inked it. This one here we might do official business, which is another, or you know, you could put, you'd have to cut it down, but you could put a number, put your number up the side there, which we may even do with the gentleman that we're going to use. So I'm going to go fairly close to the writing. And once again, this morning I did a heap of stamping, just some words on some scrap bits of cardstock, just to have on hand. And I don't cut them down. When I stamp them, I leave them on whatever they're stamped on. So you seen that one was fairly thin, so I've cut that much off it basically, but I've stamped on a bigger one there. Thicker one, so I may want it thicker. I may want to layer it. This one I just want to put across there. Now I may even put, do I want to add something else under that? I might cut a piece of this and we'll have a look what it looks like. And I'm just eyeballing it. You get it fairly straight if underneath is straight. I'll just ink that and then we'll have a look what it looks like. Yeah, like I said, we've got some bad weather coming. You may have seen on the news. We've had recently 2 flash floods within the last month, so the ground's quite saturated. It's certainly not going to take much, and as we know with cyclones, they can just go really slow, just sit over the top of you and dump a lot of water. So everybody's it's good that we've had good advanced warning with this one. Everyone's busy preparing. So it's a bit wide, so I'm just going to cut it a bit thinner. I still may not use it, but sometimes it's trial and error when we want to play around and try different effects. Okay, I like that. Just gives it just a little bit of border. It's just a little bit uneven there. Just going to cut a slither off it, and then I'm just going to cut a little bit off the end just to even it up because we've taken some off the other side. And then I'm going to glue that one on. So you could even put a plain bit of cardstock that's just got stamping or stenciling on it across the top there. Don't have to have words. Just going to take a little bit more off the end here. Just to even it up. There we go, beautiful, and I'll stick that on there. Just eyeballing it to get it centralized. Now I'm going to use this gentleman for this one. So this is a good little project to use the taller paper dolls that you don't necessarily, or you haven't necessarily used before. I might even that cover up with the length of the pad. I'm a visual person, so it was just, that's better. It was just annoying me having one layer shorter than the other. All right, so we've got this gentleman, so I'm just going to put a layer of book page under him, similar to what I did with her. So I had the plain border out the side because the background was patterned, but if you have a plain background, then by all means use your word book page. What did I do with that book page? Okay, so we just roughly check the height of him. I like to work in some form of a triangular shape, and I want an interesting edge, not a straight edge, because we've got a straight edge with the notebook, so we want to add a little bit of texture to it. Yeah, I'm not in a flood area. I'm actually up on top of a hill on a farm, so I overlook, and when we had the flash flooding here a couple of weeks ago, you could see the river rising, and having previously lived in flood area a lot of years ago, you know, your heart goes out to people that are moving their stuff up from under their house and trying to, you know, prep for the worst. So this here also, I'm going to take a little bit off the edge because, well, it doesn't really matter if it comes out over the edge, I guess, in a way that actually looks really good. But I might take, I just want to take just a little bit off that. I might just have a fraction coming off the edge there, but that looks really good. So let's glue this down. don't overthink it either, guys. Sometimes we can just get caught up in, oh, does that look right? Does that not look right? Just, you know, throw it down and go, oh yeah, I don't mind that, and then commit to it. Remember, there's no rules in paper crafting, especially junk journals. There's absolutely no rules. You can do your own thing. You can take somebody's idea, change it a bit, do it in a different color. Yep, he looks really good. You could even, for your first page, add some very faint stenciling, which actually I might. Should we do that? What have I got on my desk? What about this? Let's get some brick effect there, given that it's a gentleman on the front. So this is a Tim Holtz layering stencil. And this is like a makeup brush, but they use it a lot for inking, and it's just so easy, especially if you're doing on pages like this. So easy. I'm not going to do it too dark, and I'm only just going to do that front page just so we can see. See, it just adds another little thing to it. You could go through this notebook, which I may do later, and you know, do a bit more stenciling on each side just to carry that through, but we won't do that today. I've showed you, you know, what to do. Definitely, if you haven't got one of these brushes, definitely get one. They're very soft bristled, and they're angled into like a roundish shape, so they're so easy to use, and they're really good on your hands if you've got, you know, a bit of arthritis like all crafters do. You know, this one's really good. You can put your finger there if you want to apply a little bit more pressure, but definitely get yourself one of those, or a few. I've actually got a few where I use the different inks for. I'll put a link to my shop down the bottom. I've got a online craft shop too, and you know, I do have those in there, but you can get them anywhere, guys. Even if you googled makeup brushes, you will get them there. But there you go, guys. Just another little take on notebooks. I really like that stenciling. I might even add the stencilings to her. On the back I put a little note, like I said, little number, but I also left it open for a little pocket. I may even put one on the back of him as well. They will slip into a pocket in your journal. Pull them out. You've got all this extra journaling spaces, so you've got 4 pages, which is 8 surfaces to journal in. You do fold them back when you go to write on them like that. But a lot of fun, guys, and something a little bit different. Have a play on it. Look, you don't necessarily have to do the acetate if you don't have any. You could put vellum there. You could just cut it out and leave it open. Do what you've got available to you, but definitely have a go. I will put the measurements down the bottom in the description, but I hope that's inspired you guys. Have a little bit of fun with it. I would love to have a look at what you create. Thanks, guys. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye.